Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, A Boy of Inri. I'm your host, A Boy, and today I want to practice or just start my YouTube channel about books in general. It's been a long time since I started or just stopped reading books or fantasy books in general. And I want to come back to it, and apparently this is one of the most popular books out there in the young adult genre, in the fantasy genre right now. And to be honest, it's going to be my first reading of it, and I just wanted to share it with everyone online because I want to practice my voice recording and voice acting. At the same time, just enjoy sharing my love of reading with everyone out there. So, thank you for stopping by my channel. If you like what you hear, if you enjoy my reading of the book, please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you. Let's start the first chapter. The Cruel Prince. Book 1. On a drowsy Sunday afternoon, a man in a long dark coat hesitated in front of a house on a tree-lined street. He hadn't parked the car nor had to come by taxi. No neighbor had seen him, strolling along the sidewalk. He simply appeared as if stepping between one shadow and the next. The man walked to the door and lifted his fist to knock. Inside the house, Jude sat on the living room rug and ate fish sticks, stuck it from the microwave, and dragged through a sludge of ketchup. Her twin sister, Taryn, napped on the couch, curled around the blanket, thumbing her fruit punch-stained mouth. On the other end of the sofa, their older sister, Vivian, stared at the television screen, her eerie, split-pupilled gaze fixed on the cat and mouse that is drawn from the cartoon cart. She laughed when it seemed as if the mouse was about to get eaten. Vivi was different from other big sisters, but since 7-year-old Jude and Taryn were identical with the same shaggy brown hair and heart-shaped face, they were different too. Vivi's eyes and the lightly furrowed points of her ears were to Jude not so much more strange than being the mirror version of another person. And if sometimes she noticed the way the neighborhood kids avoided Vivi, or the way their parents talked about her in low, worried voices, Jude didn't think it was anything important. Grown-ups were always worried, always whispering. Taryn yawned and stretched, pressing her cheeks against Vivi's knees. Outside the sun was shining, scorching the asphalt of driveways. Lawnmower engines whirled and children splashed in backyard pools. Dad was in the outbuilding where he had the forge. Mom was in the kitchen cooking hamburgers. Everything was boring. Everything was fine. When the knock came, Jude hopped up to answer it. She hoped it might be one of the girls from across the street, wanting to play video games or inviting her for an after dinner swim. The tall man stood on the mats, glaring down at her. He wore a brown leather duster, despite the heat. His shoes were shod with silver, and they rang hollowly as he stepped over the threshold. Jude looked up into his shadowed face and shivered. "Mom," she yelled. "Mom, someone's here." And Mother came from the kitchen, wiping wet hands on her jeans. When she saw the man, she went pale. "Go to your room," she told Jude in a scary voice. "Now." "Whose child is that?" the man asked, pointing at her. His voice was oddly accented. "Yours? His?" "No one's." Mom didn't even look in Jude's direction. "She's no one's child." That wasn't right. Jude and Taryn looked just like their dad. Everyone said so. She took a few steps towards the stairs, but didn't want to be alone in her room. Jude thought, Vivi will know who the tall man is. Vivi will know what to do. But Jude couldn't seem to make herself move any further. "I've seen many impossible things," the man said. "I've seen the acorn before the oak. I've seen the spark before the flame. But never have I seen such as this. A dead woman living, a child born from nothing." Mom seemed at loss for words. Her body was vibrating with tension. Jude wanted to take her hand and squeeze it, but she didn't dare. "I doubted Belkin when he told me I'd find you here," said the man, his voice softening. "The bones of an earthly woman and an unborn child in the burnt remains of my estate were convincing. Do you know what it is to return from battle? To find your wife dead, your only heir with her? To find your life reduced to ash?" Mom shook her head, not as if she was answering him, but as though she was trying to shake off the words. He took a step towards her. She took a step back. There was something wrong with the tall man's leg. He moved stiffly as though it hurt him. The light was different in the entry hall, and Jude could see the odd green tint on his skin, and the way his lower teeth seemed too large for his mouth. She was able to see that his eyes were like Vivi's. I was never going to be happy with you, Mom told him. Your word isn't for people like me. The tall man regarded her for a long moment. You made vows, he said finally. She lifted her chin and then I renounced them. His gaze was into Jude and the expression added. What's a promise from a mortal wife worth? I suppose I have my answer. Jude turned. At her mother's look, she dashed into the living room. Tyrion was still sleeping. The television was still on. Vivian looked up with half-lit cat eyes. Who's at the door? She asked. I heard arguing. A scary man, Jude told her, out of breath even though she'd barely run at all. Her heart was pounding. We're supposed to go upstairs. She didn't care that Mom had told her. I told only her to go upstairs. She wasn't going by herself. With a sigh, Vivian unfolded from the couch and shook Tyrion awake. Drowsily, Jude's twin followed them into the hallway. As they started towards the carpet-covered steps, Jude saw her father coming in from the back garden. He held an axe in his hand. Forged to be the near replica of one he studied in a museum in Iceland. It wasn't weird to see Dad with an axe. He and his friends were into old weapons. I would spend a lot of time talking about material culture, sketching ideas for fantastical blades. What was odd was the way he held the weapon, as if he was going to. Her father swung the axe toward the tall man. He had never raised a hand to discipline Jude or her sisters. Even when they got into big trouble, he wouldn't hurt anyone. He just wouldn't. And yet, the axe went past the tall man, biting into the wood trim of the door. Tyrion made an odd hiking noise and slapped her palms over her mouth. The tall man drew a curved blade from beneath his leather coat, a sword like from a storybook. That was trying to pull the axe from the freeway. That was trying to pull the axe free from the doorframe when the man plunged the sword into Dad's stomach, pushing it upwards. There was a sound like a stick snapping, and an animal cry. That fell to the vestibule carpet, the one Mom always yelled about when they tracked mud on it, the rug that was turning red. Mom screamed, Jude screamed, and Tyrion and Viv screamed. Everyone seemed to be screaming except the tall man. Come here, he said directly to Vivi. You monster, the mother shouted, moving towards the kitchen. He's dead. Don't run from me, the man told her. Not after what you've done. If you run again, I swear I... But she did run. She was almost around the corner when his blade struck her on the back. She crumpled to the linoleum, falling hams, knocking magnet off the fridge. The smell of fresh blood was heavy in the air, like wet hot metal, like those scrubbing pads Mom used to clean the frying pan when stuff was really stuck on. Jude ran at the man, slamming her fist against his chest, kicking at his legs. She wasn't even scared. She wasn't sure she felt anything at all. The man paid Jude no mind. For a long moment he just stood there as though he couldn't quite believe what he'd done, as though he wished he could take back the last 5 minutes. Then he sank to one knee and caught a hold of Jude's shoulders. He pinned her arms to her side so she couldn't hit him anymore. While he wasn't even looking at her, his gaze was on Vivian. You were stolen from me, he told her, and I've come to take you back to your true home, in Helheim beneath the hill. There you'll be rich beyond measure. There you'll be with your own kind. No, Vivi told him in a somber little voice. I'm never going anywhere with you. I'm your father, he told her, his voice harsh, rising like the crack of a lash. You're my heir and my blood, and you'll obey me in these and all things. She didn't move, while her jaw was set. You're not her father, Judy shouted at the man. Even though he and Vivi had the same eyes, she couldn't let herself believe it. His grip tightened on her shoulders, and she made a little squeaking sound. But she stared up defiantly. She'd won plenty of staring contests. He looked away first, turning to watch Tyrion on her knees shaking. Mom watched her sobbed as though she was trying to wake her up. But Mom didn't move. Mom and Dad were dead, and they were never going to move again. I hate you, Vivi proclaimed to the tall man with a viciousness Jude was glad of. I will always hate you and avow it. The man's stern expression didn't change. Nonetheless, you'll come with me. Ready these little humans, pack lights, we ride before dark. Vivian's chin came up. Leave them alone. If you have to take them, but not take me, but not them. He stared at Vivi, and then he snorted. You'd protect your sisters from me, would you? Tell me then, where would you have them go? Vivi didn't answer. They had no grandparents, no living family at all. At least none that they knew of. He looked at Jude again, released her shoulders, and rose to his feet. They're the progeny of my wife, and thus they are my responsibility. I may be cruel, a monster, and a murderer, but do not shirk my responsibility. Not should you shirk yours as the oldest. Years later, when Jude told herself this story of what happened, she couldn't recall the part where they parked. Shock seems to have erased that hour entirely. Somehow, Vivi must have found the bags, must have put in their favorite picture books and their most beloved toys, along with photographs and pajamas and coats and shirts. Or maybe Jude had packed for herself. She was never sure. She couldn't imagine how they'd done it, with her parents' bodies cooling downstairs. She couldn't imagine how that felt, and as the years passed and went by, she couldn't make herself feel it again. The aura of the mother died with time. The memories of the day blurred. The black horse was nibbling the grass of the lawn when they went outside. Its eyes were big and soft. She wanted to throw her arms around its neck and press her wet face into its silky mane. But before she could, the tall man swung her and then Tyron across the saddle, handling them like baggage rather than children. He put Vivi up behind him. Hold on, he said. Jude and her sisters wept the whole way to Fairyland. Alright, that's the prologue of the first book. So thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe. And maybe I can. And if you have any other book you want me to read, just comment it down below and I'll try to read it for you guys. I just want to practice and see how far I can go with this channel. Alright, man. Thank you for listening. Until next time. Peace.